we should be live. Live, okay. You can start.
Healthy enough.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to open the meeting of the Board of Public Works meeting. It's November 16, 2023. The time is 4:03. And Claire, could you kindly call the roll?
Commissioner Moriarty?
Here.
Commissioner Schoeneman?
Here.
Commissioner Lemon? Commissioner Shea?
Here.
And the mayor could not join us this evening, but he sends his regrets.
We will also recognize our aldermanic liaison, Alderman O'Brien. And we do have a quorum, so we can continue with the meeting. First on the agenda would be motion to approve the agenda. And I will go ahead and make that motion. I will move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Seconded. Oh, yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that passes. Second would be, Commissioner Sherman, would you be ready?
Yes. I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of October 26th, 2023.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 And that motion passes. We now move to public comment. Are there any members of the public present? Seeing none, we will move forward. Next will be a presentation of the wastewater rate model.
Okay, and I think Superintendent Dave Boucher is going to start the presentation.
Thank you. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. I'll start the presentation off by giving a brief overview of the wastewater facility, and then I'll go over some of the past and present projects that we have. I'll attempt to use this. There we go. That's good. Trying to make it full screen.
Hey.
Thank you. Yeah, those little boxes. That's very perfect.
You should note that Commissioner Lemon has joined us at 4:05.
It's weird when you come in and everybody looks at you.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you. So the wastewater facility sits off of Sawmill Road. It covers approximately 28 acres of land. You can see in the picture. Its purpose is to collect and treat wastewater and deliver clean water to the Merrimack River. We service approximately 89,000 residents in Nashua. We also service the town of Hudson, a small portion of Merrimack, and a small portion of Tingsboro, Mass. Our design flow is 16 million gallons per day with a peak design flow of 110 million gallons. Currently, we're at 12 million gallons per day average. We also receive approximately 800,000 gallons of septage a year. The collection system is made up of over 400 miles of underground piping. We also have 13 pump stations out in the system, 9 combined sewer overflow structures, and 8 siphon chambers that we manage. Some of the projects we have in the collection system, the picture on your left is the screening and disinfection facility. This is located off of Bridge Street. It's a standalone building. It's designed to hold and treat storm water before discharging. It also has a sophisticated million-gallon holding tank underground. We also have a pump station upgrade project, which is currently underway. We've completed Phase 1, and we're on Phase 2. Part of this project is upgrading all the pump stations. The one seen in the picture to the right is a package plant with new pumps, also new control panels. Some of the facilities will be brand-new buildings, which will house the pumps and emergency generators. At the wastewater facility itself, we have some past projects here with some associated costs with those projects. Our headworks upgrade that we had, the picture to the lower left, part of it was installing new mechanical bar screens. These screens are important by pulling large material out of the wastewater before it goes through the wastewater plant. It's important to protect our equipment throughout the process by removing this large material. It carries it up 3 stories, so it's a pretty large system. The energy recovery upgrade, it involved installing 2 Caterpillar generators. These generators run off of the methane gas produced by our primary digester, the sludge that we digest. The interesting thing about these generators is that the heat from the generators are reclaimed. This is used to heat the water that in turn, through an exchanger, heats the sludge in our 1.3 million gallon digester. The water booster building upgrade, the picture to the far right. In the past, this was all underground. It wasn't a good environment for pumps and flow meters. Everything was brought up above ground into a climate control building. The importance of these pumps is it maintains the city water pressure through our wastewater plant, so we can maintain all our processes. The wet weather facility screen replacement, similar to the screens on the far left, our wet weather building received new screens to protect the process. Current projects that we have at the wastewater plant in its preliminary design phase, vehicle storage garage. We have a lot of vehicle assets at the wastewater plant. Shown in the picture to the left is 2 of our vac trucks that are used to clean the sewer system. These trucks have water on board the trucks, water pumps, and need to be kept in a warm environment through the winter. They're always on standby for emergency purposes as well. We also have other vehicles at the facility. They have electronics. We have crane trucks. We have a camera truck which has an onboard computer system that should be housed indoors. The Class A biosolids project, this is kind of a preliminary project right now. Currently, we produce a Class B biosolids, which we have land applied through a management company for beneficial reuse. With the more stringent regulations coming down, the cost is increasing for disposing solids. It also limits us with where we can spread it as well. So by taking the Class B, drying it further, making a Class A gives us more options of disposal, reduces the volume and the weight, and it also would help us save in delivery cost, shipping off-site. What you see in the picture to the right, it's one of the treatment processes to produce a Class A solid. We had it pilot tested at the wastewater plant. It's a small version. We need something larger, obviously, but we went full scale. The dry well valve and pipe replacement project, that one's going into its construction phase. In our main building, we have piping that's over 50 years old. It's seen corrosion on the insides of the pipe because we pump a lot of sand, debris, so there's a lot of wear and tear. So it's 3 stories of piping that ranges from 32-inch to 42-inch that has to be replaced. So this project is underway. We also have a Phase 1 upgrade at the facility. This is several projects put together, so it's under one contract at the wastewater plant. Some of the things it includes is replacing several large gates throughout the facility, doing concrete tank repairs. We also have some flow meter replacements that will be done and some chemical pump replacements. We have some stormwater issues that we have to take care of at the facility, so that's in there also. And our pump building, which is a 3-story pump building that needs some improvements. At this point, I'll turn it over to the operations supervisor, Noelle Osborne, to go over the next slides. Take the clicker.
Hi, Noelle Osborne, Operations Supervisor, Wastewater. The next slide is intent to show you the magnitude of the regulations that the wastewater facility is under. The permits that we hold are listed up here. Every aspect of the wastewater facility is permitted, from the water that we discharge to the Merrimack River to the biosolids that we beneficially reuse. We have an air permit for the emergency generators in the event of power failure, as well as for the tanks that hold the fuel for those emergency generators. It's an industrial site, so the stormwater that falls onto the site is permitted where it hits the outfalls, and there's also a permit for the stormwater throughout the city of Nashua. So we hold a fair amount of permits. Within those permits are requirements to create governing documents. They have very basic requirements, like you must create this collection system, O&M, and then the city writes these documents with specific schedules and requirements that we can meet. So where we have a vast amount of permits, we have an even larger amount of governing documents. And all of these regulations require testing and reporting and paying attention to all of the details. The next two slides are, you'll see it's 2 pages. It's a letter that we received in 2021 from the Director of the Water Division up at New Hampshire DES, and it just talks about the importance of rate setting and how you need to have sustainable income, sustainable revenue to maintain the projects that are coming down the pipe. There are higher regulations, more regulations coming that they wanted to make sure that we were aware of as we're in these planning stages. So that's a great letter to take some time to look at. At this point, we're going to turn it over to Hazen and Sawyer.
Okay, thank you, Noel. My name is Frank Ayotte. I'm an engineer and project manager with the engineering firm of Hazen and Sawyer, one of the city's engineering consultants. And for the past several years, we worked closely with Public Works, the sewer department, and the finance department to develop a sewer rate model that could accurately predict sewer rate increases now and into the future based on an analysis of some data sets like sewer revenues, expenses, debt service, and the wastewater capital improvement plan. With me today on the Zoom call is Olivia August. She's an engineer in our finance department. And Olivia is going to present a presentation today that's going to give you a little bit of background on the sewer rate model itself, the data we analyzed, a highlight of some of the projects, the CIP projects from wastewater that were analyzed as part of the rate model, as well as a comparison of Nashua's rates with other New Hampshire communities, and finally, the recommended increases for the next 3 years and its effect on the fund balance. Okay? Olivia?
Thank you, Frank. I'm sharing my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I'll jump right in, and Frank kind of walk through what I'll be talking about today, starting with a little background on the model. So we worked with National Wastewater to develop a financial model to really inform the equitable, fiscally responsible, and defensible rates. This model is built using historical usage as well as billing data, and I'll walk through some more details on that. We also input historical financial information, including your actual revenue and expenditures, as well as budgeted expenditures and projected revenue. We've included the planned capital improvements, which Dave's walked through several, and the future loans that will be used to pay for several of those projects as well. Just a little bit of background on the model. It's built in Power BI and uses Excel as its data source for a lot of this information. Okay, so getting more into the data sources, starting with usage data, we had a full year of usage data for both all of the customers in Nashua across fiscal year 2022. So our rate model input all of that usage information and then uses that to project revenue and usage into the future. We also included the fiscal year 2024 budgeted expenses and the actual revenue and expenses from fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Our rate model includes the most recent sewer rates, which were last updated January 1st of 2022. And as I said, we included the planned future wastewater treatment plant improvement projects, which span 2024 through 2045. We also looked at the operating and capital equipment reserve fund balance as part of our analysis as well. So starting with projected expenses, as Dave and Noel walked through with the upgrade needs, increasing regulation and permits, there's an expected increase in projected expenses over the next 3 years. So you can see 2023 and what the expenses are projected to be through 2026. There's increases in operating capital as well as current and future loans that amount to about a 39% increase from 2023 to 2026. Some of the projects Dave spoke about that are incorporated in this projected increase include the drywall upgrades, the phase 1 wastewater treatment plant upgrades, as well as gate and valve replacements, stormwater improvements, and inflow and infiltration, just to name a few of the projects included in this. So here I have presented the next 3 years of proposed rate increases. The first starting in April 1st of 2024, and this is a 15% proposed increase. That would be followed by, you can see there's no proposed increase for 2023 as we're concluding that year. The next two would be January 1st of 2025 with a 10%, and then also a 10% increase in January 1st of 2026. So I know, especially double digits can seem really large, but I wanted to kind of paint the picture of what this rate increase would be equivalent to if there had been a rate increase in 2023. So as I said earlier, the last rate increase was January 1st of 2022. So if there had been a rate increase the beginning of this year, it would have been equivalent to having an 8.5% increase each year. So that kind of helps put it into perspective. Another way to think about this increase is in terms of an average residential monthly bill. So we know that residential bills are actually quarterly currently, but just to get an idea of what these monthly payments and how those would change for a residential household, we looked at average usage and an average meter size of 5/8 of an inch. And the current average residential monthly bill would be around $30.99. And so with this 15% and then two 10% increases, we're seeing that that bill would increase to only $35.64, which helps kind of put in perspective. It's less than a $4 increase, or less than a $4, a little over $4, sorry, increase in terms of your average residential bill. And then in 2026, that would go up to about 43. In terms of kind of benchmarking where Nashua is compared to neighboring utilities, you can see on this graph to the right, Nashua is in the red. And so you can see it's on actually the lower end of comparative neighboring utilities in terms of an average residential monthly bill for sewer services. And even if, and it's assumed that all of these, or many of these utilities will be also increasing their rates year to year, but even if they were to keep their rates static, Nashua would still have lower rates than Portsmouth and Keene, which are shown in the navy and green boxes to the left. So another important metric we looked at when determining a proposed rate increase was also affordability. So we looked at using the US EPA's guidance of 2% for sewer services, looked at the lowest quintile income users and made sure that these increased rates still were below that 2% threshold for even the lowest income users in Nashua. And last, I want to talk about the impact this rate increase would have on net revenue and revenue generation for the wastewater department. So starting this graph to the left shows that based on our current projections and existing rates, there's a projected deficit in net revenue over the next 2 years in 24 and 25. However, with these 3 planned rate increases, we're projecting that by 2026 there would be a positive net revenue, meaning that there would be sufficient revenue to cover these increasing operating expenses that we spoke about earlier, and would also contribute to increasing the fund balance for better resiliency and operating coverage in the future. So that's all I had in terms of our presentation on rates, but happy to take comments or questions this time. Thank you all.
Thanks, Olivia.
Commissioners, any comments? Commissioner Shea.
Could you speak more to the item about lower-income households and the 2% number? I'm not sure I understand what that means.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Olivia.
So oftentimes, when looking at affordability, people look at the median household income and compare that income to the cost of sewer services to look at whether or not people are paying more than 2% of their monthly income on sewer services. The US EPA kind of has this guidance or threshold saying that if people are paying 2% or more, that's considered unaffordable. Recent research and our approach to affordability is not just looking at the median, it's really looking at your lowest income users. So we use the lowest quintile, or you can think of, instead of median, which would be the 50th percent, we're looking at the 20th percent. And we're making sure that sewer services are still affordable and below that 2% threshold for that group of users as well.
So it's your lowest income population, the lowest 20% of the median.
Thank you. And do you know what that number, it's well below 2%, but do you have a rough idea of what that number actually is?
Olivia, you're on mute, I believe.
I apologize. I believe that number is around 1%, but I could look into the model and get you an exact number on that.
Yeah, approximation's good. I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The other night, several questions did come from the Board of Aldermen that probably would be worth repeating tonight if you don't mind answering again. But we do provide a service to the portion of the town of Merrimack and a portion to the town of Tingsboro. So any rate increases and everything would be reflected to those given communities. And I just want to repeat the question to get it out there to the public.
It is correct.
Okay, that's, I don't know if they can see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I saw. I don't know which camera's on.
Commissioner Shea.
Thank you. So the basis of our sewerage fees are cold weather month water usage, is that right? So-
Yes, I believe that's the way they calculate it, the cold weather months. yeah.
And do we have confidence that that reflects actual output? Like, does or is it just a proportionate thing? Like, I'm curious about the volume that comes in as compared to the volume that we see during the winter versus during the summer. I'm just wondering, because I don't see too many sprinklers out there. And I gather that that's some of the philosophy behind doing the winter months, so we're not picking up swimming pools and watering lawns, and it's an interesting basis, and I'm just curious if we have a firm idea of how accurate it is in terms of actual output from households.
I'm not certain how accurate it is with Nashua. I know this is kind of a standard practice to the field. There's other ways of doing it, but this is one of the common ones.
Yeah.
But I don't know the data, whether or not, how accurate it is for Nashua.
Okay. But it's standard practice.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense on the surface. I was just curious if we had more insight into how it translates to actual usage, but.
Yeah, they
but
try to
I
make
get-
it as fair as possible.
Yeah, I get that that's tough to really ascertain without, I'm sure, putting a rather expensive meter in every household on sewage output, so, yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I would just say that if anybody's watched these meetings from month to month, they realize how expensive maintaining the wastewater treatment facility is, the money we spend every month, and it's a necessity, obviously, and looking at the pictures, I think the facility's cleaner than my house, so it looks really nice, and a very good presentation. The question I had, I guess, Director Fuddle, is the rate increase, would that be a motion that would come before this board?
Yes, it will. So we have actually a resolution that will be going before the Board of Aldermen at their next meeting to increase the sewer rates. That will get referred here. And then,
To direct a photo, would that go through the mayor, or would you like me as liaison to sign on to co-sponsor that
That
as
would
well.
be great.
It'd
if
be-
you
it'd
would
be my
willing to
pleasure. Thank you.
Co-sponsor that, absolutely. We'll be going into it, so I will let our legal department know that you're willing to
Okay,
co-sponsor.
when it's scribed, please include me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it'll go, when it goes to the Board of Aldermen, it'll be referred to committee, guessing probably budget. I don't know if you have any sense of that.
Probably I'll have communication with the chairman of budget, but probably, yeah.
So it'll be referred to budget. There'll be some discussion there, and then it'll go back to the full board.
Correct.
And it'll also be referred to this board.
Great, good. Commissioner Shea?
Just one more question.
Yep.
Thank you. So I think I understand the idea behind the high number first being that you get the 15% in, and then your compound interest on the 10% picks up some of that initial 15. Was any other kind of cadence of increase more incremental, like over a 5-year period? Was
Yes.
that evaluated, and can you speak to
So
that?
I can answer that. So as Olivia had said before, the capital improvement plan analyzed in the rate model goes through 2045. So it's a very big capital improvement plan. The idea of the rate model, now that you have a robust, resilient tool to predict rates, is to eventually build up your fund balance. And technically, the rule of thumb is 4 months of operating income and 25% of all capital on projects. That's a robust fund balance. That's not where you are right now, but as you saw in the rate increases for 2026, you're in the black, right? But the idea is, as you go through and use this tool year to year, and you update it with the actual values, we want to get to a point where it's made a cost of living increase, and not anything more pronounced like a 15, a 10, and a 10, right? And a lot of factors can depend on that. When are the projects that are scheduled, are they happening when you said they were, or are they sliding off? So we feel that a 3-year look ahead is probably your most accurate look ahead, okay? Even though we could project way out, but if projects are starting to slide in schedule, well, that's going to affect how the rate increase might be in year 5 or 6. So it's not worth saying what that would be right now, okay?
And so
But if we can trend, I guess, increasing the fund balance little by little without, I would call dramatic increases of 15, 10, and 10, and, get to a cost of living, I think that's the overall goal of the model itself.
And so the timing here, as I understand it, is probably tied to 20-year bond schedule, and so projects happening
Correct.
through
So
25.
all those factors that Olivia mentioned, the revenue, the operating expenses, the debt associated with what's included in the model, and all of that, it's all in play. It's all dynamic and factored into there.
And future needed improvements are more conceptual at this stage and less certain, and so therefore doing this now for this period of years, and then reevaluating on what, an annual
Correct.
basis?
That's
Or-
correct. No, we would look at, well, certainly for next year, we'll update the model's financial and look at what would 2027 show us, okay? And then, obviously have Public Works make its decisions on that, and it's, because 2027, we'll see what the fund balance will be then. Do we need a 10% increase, or can we go to 5, and build up that balance over time, that positive balance?
And I'm so sorry, I'm spending a lot of time with it, yeah.
That's okay.
And so, was this contract started before this session, or is this something that we voted in early on? I don't recall.
This,
I'm not sure what you mean. Project.
So the model actually started, I believe, in 2021.
Yeah, a long time.
Right? Because we
Yeah,
had a
a while ago.
2022 recommended increase, and there was no increase in 2023. So
Okay.
we recently updated the data through this year from the finance department. Dave looked at the capital projects. Are they still on schedule where they should be? We updated all that information, and that's how we got to 15, 10, and 10 for this recommendation.
Okay, and last follow-up. And so you've kind of laid the groundwork, you've done a lot of research, you've built the model with Nashua's data sources. And I don't know what the cost of this contract was, but in future years, as you continue to support with the data and recommendations, is there less of a burden for your time moving forward?
Absolutely. Actually, to update the model was a fraction of the cost to build it from scratch.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a maintenance cost.
Thank you.
And we do offer training on the model for Nashua staff to work it themselves. It is Excel-based. It's not a proprietary model, so there's no fee attached to it. You own it. But we're happy to help update it as well. So,
I should also note that Hazen and Sawyer does a lot of other work for the plant, too. One of the prime engineers that we use at the wastewater treatment plant. So this isn't the only thing that they do.
Thank you.
But they're well-versed in creating this model for us because of that, because they are very involved in the plant.
We've done it for a number of communities, and it's with the same type of success. You know, once you have it, you wish you had it before. So,
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do have just one question. Going through the process, when do you think that it'll be, the residents will start to see the increase? And the reason I ask it, will they have enough time to work with their escrow accounts and everything else to understand that this is happening?
yeah. Well, right now, we're projecting 3 years out, 24, 25, and 26. So next year, we can add a year to that, 27. So you still have that solid projection 3 years out. I wouldn't go much more over 5 years on an
Right.
overall projection, because
But what-
otherwise it starts to,
Okay,
depending
just
on,
for my clarity, the first year that the residents will see the increase will be what year?
well, it's going to be April 1st, 2024.
Okay, and so hopefully we can expedite this through the process, so that, what I'm saying, that the public can, know
Plan
it's
for it,
not going to
yeah.
hit them
The next two are January and January.
in
And then
January, okay.
I imagine for 2027, depending on what that value is, if anything, would be January, I guess, the same type of thing. To keep it
That was what I
consistent.
was, so that they have enough time. The wife does my budget, so she has enough time.
Mine too.
We will,
Also, with rates increasing in April and quarterly billing, they'd likely be paying this first increased cost or increased rate in July. So hopefully that gives people sufficient time to, like you said, prepare.
and we'll be also providing the board with a yearly update of what we're projecting.
Good. Very good. Any further questions? That's an excellent presentation. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you, Olivia.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Noel.
Thanks, Noel. Thanks, Dave.
Next, we'll be moving on then to Street Department. Motion A, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the purchase of one 2024 Ford F-550 four-wheel drive chassis from Grapponi Ford. Pricing for this purchase will be off the New Hampshire state bid for $66,218. Funding will be through Department 177, Park and Recreation, Fund, Trust, Activity, Capital Equipment Reserve Fund.
Thank you. That is the motion, okay. Who's going to speak to this?
Our fleet manager, Mike Rush.
Mike Rush, Fleet Manager. So this is a scheduled surf purchase. It is replacing the 2014 TerraStar. It's a little bit bigger of a vehicle than what we are purchasing, so we're able to save a little bit of money on that. And it will be used for snow operations as well as all the park operations. The body that we put on it is a little bit more universal than the old truck that it's replacing, so it can be utilized in more things than what the current truck that we have is. That's pretty much it for that. The other truck will be kept as a backline truck until it's no longer feasible, which will probably be in the very near future, the last time I saw it. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Mike, I was just looking at the current vehicle only has 26,000, which doesn't seem like a lot of miles, but it's just the engine time.
Excuse me. There's a lot of idle hours on that vehicle, and for some reason, that vehicle seems to be a little bit more prone to corrosion over some of the other vehicles. So I think it's probably more rust-related and frame-related than engine hours.
Thank you. That's what I thought. Alderman O'Brien.
Quickly reading through this, I see some of the vehicles, you're going to stainless steel, and will this vehicle have it to increase the longevity? Because I understand, if you're carrying salt or sand on it, that wrecks a vehicle, you know?
Correct. We have started moving certain vehicles towards certain stainless steel options to try to prolong some of the problems that we're having with corrosion, so we can try to keep the vehicles a little bit in service longer.
Right.
Try to get our money's worth out of them instead of trying to, the normal 7-year turnover that we've been.
Follow up, if I may.
Yes.
And you do see that by going, it's well worth it to invest into that.
Yes.
Because we do increase the longevity.
Yes, we have several vehicles that we have already replaced with stainless steel options, whether their bodies are plows or sanders, and we are seeing prolonged, that we can keep them in the fleet a little bit longer than what we have in the past.
Great. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Motion B, Commissioner Lemon.
I motion to approve the purchase of one F-550 dump body and plow package from Viking Sieves of Vermont through Sourcewell Contract for the total purchase price of $75,400. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation, Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Mike Rush, Fleet Manager. So this is the upfit package for the chassis that we just voted on, that has some of those stainless steel options that we just went over. Happy to answer any questions if you have any for this.
Seeing none, we'll move the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Motion C, Commissioner Shonen.
I move to approve the purchase of one 2024 Ford F-350 four-wheel drive pickup truck from Capone Ford through New Hampshire State Bid for the price of $58,190. Pricing for this purchase will be off the New Hampshire State Bid contract. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste, Fund Trust, Activity Surf.
Mike Rush, Fleet Manager. So this truck is used at the solid waste facility for multiple operations, including delivering toters and things such as that. We are moving from an F-250 to an F-350 so that we can put a sander in this. So the F-350 is a little bit more robust and will handle the weight, unlike the F-250. So it's a like-for-like purchase, other than the fact that it's a little bit bigger and will handle a sander. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Motion D, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the purchase of a 2024 Ford F-150 Lightning pickup truck for use in the engineering department. Purchase will be from Grapponi Ford, Concord, New Hampshire, pursuant to New Hampshire State Bid contract for the price of $51,538. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Mike Rush, Fleet Manager. So this purchase will be replacing a 2011 Ford Fusion hybrid. We moved to the F-150 to try to get them a little bit more ground clearance for when they're out in the field. They currently only have like one van, so this will have a little bit more ground clearance to get them into some of those spaces that they really can't take a Ford Fusion when they're doing all their site work. And, excuse me, sorry. The current vehicle will be kept as a backline vehicle until it's no longer feasible to do so. Happy to answer any questions you have about that.
Is the Fusion, is that like a plug-in hybrid, or what is that vehicle?
It's a gasoline hybrid.
Okay. And it's a sedan, right? Or is it-
Correct, yep,
yeah.
four-door.
Can you speak to occasions where having that vehicle made it tough? In terms
I
of job
personally
sites?
cannot. I don't know if, is Dan here? he might have a little bit more insight.
So occasionally, we need to go out on construction sites for subdivisions, that sort of thing, which aren't fully constructed yet, but we're out there overseeing the sewer construction and various things. So there's that. Sometimes we pull off the side of the road, and, you may want to mount a curb to get yourself off a little bit. We kind of view this vehicle, it has all the capability of a car in terms of its seats, 5 passengers, just like some of the cars, with the added ability, it has a small pickup bed in case there's anything we need to pick up or move around, and also that additional ground clearance. So we kind of view it as a value added above and beyond a regular car. We do have a car also on the agenda later down.
Yeah, I would also add that it has four-wheel drive, which will help us in inclement weather when we need to get out and about, so.
How many ports do we have here? Charging ports?
5.
5.
And what would be the difference in cost between this and a sedan? Like 18,000, something like that?
It might be a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
There's a fuel savings there on the back end, too. I don't have those numbers.
It's going to depend on mileage, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't make Ford Fusion anymore either.
Yeah, I believe they discontinued that.
Further questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion E, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve the purchase of one 2024 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive pickup truck from Grapponi Ford for the price of $57,158. Pricing for this purchase will be off the New Hampshire State bid contract. Funding will be through the Department 169 wastewater fund WRF, account category 81 capital.
Michael Rush, Fleet Manager. So this scheduled surf purchase is going to replace a 2014 F-150 pickup that currently is not equipped with a plow. So we're moving to an F-250 with a plow package so that we could have better universal use for it in the wastewater facility, moving snow and heavier loads because it can handle a little bit more weight. Happy to answer any questions you have about this purchase.
Alrighty, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that carries. Motion F, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of one trackless MT7 mower attachment for vehicle ID 18-055 from HP Fairfield of Hopkinton, New Hampshire. Total price of $34,900 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Johnny Bear, Superintendent Streets. So last month, we brought a trackless machine. We didn't have the quote in time, but I would have liked to have brought this at that time. It'll attach to that and assist our road crews with our line of sight issues in the summer. This year in particular, we had a really wet season, so we had a lot of cutting back, line of sight issues around guardrails, cleaning overpasses. This tool will cut down on, say, poison ivy with the guys. That's a big thing. There's a lot of poison ivy out there, so this will take the majority of the work. There'll still be some handwork, but this will be a tool we use all summer. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Shea.
Does this thing dig out roots?
It does not. It's a
Does not.
flail
That's
mower.
the handwork, huh? Yep. Fun.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And carries. Thank you. Next, we're on to motion G, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the purchase of one 2024 Nissan Leaf for use in the engineering department. Purchase will be from Patriot Nissan of Salem, New Hampshire for the purchase price of $28,176. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Michael Rush, Fleet Manager. So this scheduled surf purchase is going to replace a 2010 Ford Fusion that is beyond its life expectancy because of corrosion to the undercarriage. This is sort of a like-for-like purchase, other than the fact that it's an electric vehicle and not a not a hybrid like the Ford Fusion. Happy to answer any questions you have about that.
Commissioner Shea.
So I think I've asked this at a previous meeting, but we can't really take advantage of the federal tax credits on these vehicles. Is that
So
right?
with the state bid, we did get a little bit of what the state offers off of the quote price.
Okay.
There might be stuff down the road.
Yep.
But we don't have access to that at this time.
Okay. So I think this is like, is this the third electric vehicle we've approved in the last quarter or so?
This will be the third vehicle.
Third
We had another F-150 Lightning pickup truck last month,
Yeah.
the one that we just did, and this will be the third one for the Public Works.
Okay. Personally, I'm very excited about this, and I know it's part of our movement towards diversifying fuel sources and cleaner energy and being good environmental stewards. I would really like to see some amount of information out of Dory's office on possible grants that we could take advantage of, because I know that some of this is dependent on the state bid process and the cadence of that and what's available and when it's available and when it no longer is there for you. But with proper lead time, I have to think that there are some grants, either federal grants or what have you out there, and it would be, even though we can't necessarily take advantage of, because with the federal tax credit, this would be a $21,176 vehicle. That's a major difference. And if there is something out there for us to take advantage of, it would really behoove us to lay that groundwork before it gets to the point where we're on the lot looking at the car. And so if we can have some.
So we are very much in touch with Doria Brown on a regular basis on all of this. And right now, there isn't, although I think that there will be things up and coming. There's a lot, Mike will tell you, there's a lot in the works right now, a lot of vehicles that are going to be coming forward, a lot of electric vehicles. I know that Ford is investing a lot in electric vehicles, so I think as time goes on, we'll see more of that. But we have, in addition to Doria, we have a grant writer that works for the city, and she's constantly also looking for opportunities. So I'm sure if any opportunities do come up, they will let us know about it.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm sure they're very busy and they have a lot of departments to think about too. So if we, and I know that you're in constant communication with them.
Yeah.
But I have to think that in the, what is it, the Inflation Reduction Act that had a big green energy component, there's got to be something for us. And I don't know if that's being deployed now or if that's like in the next 6 months or a year that stuff is really rolling out. But it would be ideal.
I could ask Doria to come to our next meeting and speak to that if you'd like.
Yeah, or even just a memo, but because
Sure.
I'm sure she's got a lot on her plate, but thank you.
Further questions? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes. We're moving on to wastewater department. Motion A, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve the user warrants as presented.
Thank you, that's the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion passes. Motion B, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of 2 grit roll-off containers from Waste Quip of Williamstown, New Jersey, in the total amount of $44,900. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater, Fund WRF, account 81 capital.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. As mentioned, this is to replace 2 grit roll-off containers, existing containers. This is for our grit washing process. Grit in wastewater is sand that's pulled out of the system, goes through a washing mechanism, is put into a container to be drove off-site. It has to be built specific to the dimensions of our building, where the slots are to receive the container. It has a custom cover to reduce odors. It also has an internal auger system to pull the sand from one end to the other that runs automatically when the wash system runs. So we went through the Sourcewell contract. WasteQuip was the current bid winner on that. And interestingly enough, the existing containers are also from them, so they're well knowledgeable how to make it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
carries. That is wastewater. We'll move on to engineering. Motion A, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to approve the sewer service permits and fees as submitted.
That is the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion B, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve the construction phase engineering services contract for the New Hampshire Route 111 Bridge Deck Rehabilitations Project with Du Bois and King Incorporated of Bedford, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $32,825. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering, Fund, Capital and Grant, Activity, Taylor Falls, and Veterans Bridge.
Thank you, Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So I think it was last month we brought forward the construction contract. We had a bid and the contractors Beck and Bellucci. I think at that time I told you we were negotiating engineering contracts. We'd be back with those. So here we are. This first contract is with Du Bois and King. They were the designer of the bridge rehab. The process with DOT, they require a different construction engineer from the designer, but they require that you retain the designer in construction. So as the designer of record, so they can review any, review submittals, review any changes to the design, things like that. So this is a fairly small contract with Du Bois and King as the engineer of record for the construction phase.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm kind of searching here just to get the information correctly. But when we built some of these bridges, we did so not with the state, but with the town of Hudson. Am I correct with that?
So these bridges were, I think, they were constructed by the state, and then the state turned them over to us. We are, I failed to mention, but we are processing this project jointly with the town of Hudson.
Okay, that was my follow-up.
Yeah.
Is Hudson going to step up to the plate to assist us in the repairs of these
Yes,
arteries?
they certainly are. The project is 80% funded with federal funds. The 20% we're splitting 50-50 with the town of Hudson. So it's basically costing us 10 cents on the dollar for this project. These engineering contracts are follow that same funding split.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Motion C, Commissioner Schoenman.
I move to approve the construction engineering services contract for the New Hampshire Route 111 Bridge Deck Rehabilitations Project with Hoyle Tanner and Associates Incorporated in Manchester, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $446,787. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering, Fund Capital and Grant, Activity Taylor Falls, and Veterans Bridge.
Thank you.
Again, Dan Hudson, city engineer. So Hoyle Tanner has been selected to be the construction engineer. As I mentioned, the two different engineers on this project. They'll do the resident engineering work. DOT requires nearly full-time oversight of any work that's occurring to make sure everything's done in accordance with the specifications and that sort of thing. They'll process the contractor pay recs and all those things, basically administer the project. So this cost is a lot higher for them, but that's because they're going to have somebody there nearly full-time, as I said. Contract is going to start in the spring, we anticipate, and construction will run all the way through next year, and then we believe into the following season. It remains to be seen as we bring on Beck and Bellucci, exactly what their plan of attack is or how the phasing will work, but we're confident that this is an upside number for Hoyle Tanner. They're they bill us for the time that they're there, basically. It's not more than that. So we envision, it will come in less than this, but this is an upside limit and in accordance with our negotiated agreement. Happy to address any questions.
Questions, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Motion D, Commissioner Shea.
The motion is to consider the hardship request from Fieldstone Land Consultants, PLLC, on behalf of BNA Property Preservation LLC, to excavate in Sherman Street to install water, sewer, and gas services at 7 Sherman Street, Lot 59-9.
So as noted, this is a hardship request. Sherman Street was paved in June of 2021. There's a property that's envisioned or planned to be subdivided into 2 parcels. Applicant here is seeking approval to cut into the street in order to provide services for that new parcel. With that, I'll turn it over to Chuck Ritchie of Fieldstone Consultants, who can speak in more detail about the request.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chuck Ritchie with Fieldstone Land Consultants. I'm representing the owner and the applicant for this project on 7 Sherman Street. As Dan said, we're proposing a 2-lot subdivision. The subject parcel is 0.88 acres with 153 feet of frontage on Sherman Street. It was paved in the June of 21. We're looking for a request to cut into it to, construct utilities for the proposed single-family residential home. As you know, there's a housing shortage, and our client has an interested buyer already. He would like to make these improvements before winter comes into full swing and we get too much snow on the ground. We understand that cutting into the moratorium period requires additional improvements to the road once the construction is done, and our plans reflect that design. We have 20 feet on either side of the proposed cutting to be repaved, and we minimize the impact to the extent possible, with the water and sewer utilities requiring 10 feet of separation for the installation. The improvements will meet all the regulations outlined in the Nashua, City of Nashua standards, and we appreciate your consideration at this time. Thank you.
And this is a curb-to-curb pave over once the job is done?
Sorry, what was that?
It's a curb-to-curb repaving of the
Yes,
surface?
the full width of the road, even for the gas, which is, on this side of the road.
City will require that part of it be done in the spring, but they do want to get in and do the installation and the
It's a
patch.
temporary surface.
Right, and then they would overwinter, and then in the spring, we would have them come back and do the mill and inlay.
I did see that so in the reading that there are 9 houses on the street. So is it a dead-end street? I'm not familiar with it.
No, it's there's 9 houses along Sherman Street between Beauview and what's the one down here?
Charlotte Ave.
Charlotte, that's correct.
Charlotte.
And then
So
there
you
is
know it goes
additional
up
Sherman
over.
Street that is a dead end just to the north here.
Yeah, it's a very small street.
Yeah, I drove by. It's very short.
Well, I won't miss these hardship requests.
I bet.
Any further questions? Oh, yes, Commissioner Shulman.
Because I always do, I will say that digging into a street that is practically brand new is a very bad idea. And we've seen from previous engineering department presentations that you dig into a road that's new, it's never the same again. And we've shelled out an absolutely astounding amount of money to pave these roads. And to come back, within a couple of years and say we're gonna, put a big hole in it is not the kind of thing that is financially responsible. However, things have to be done. And that's what we're here for, is to help people get things done to get housing put up and the like. So in general, I do not approve of ripping into streets in moratorium, but it's a small street. It's not going to affect traffic a great deal. It's going to improve the neighborhood. So it's not such a bad thing. My lecture is over. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Further comments? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep. The next item is informational, 2023 paving program summary.
Yeah, I'd be happy to address any questions. There's a memo in the packet, describes what the work was that was accomplished this year. Also outlines the streets that are being deferred, that were planned to be done, but are being deferred to next year due to various reasons. So again, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Just hitting the highlights, we paved almost 18 miles on 91 streets, placed 57,000 tons of asphalt, replaced over 1,100 castings, so, the structure tops, basically. Reconstructed 157 ADA ramps, and fully replaced 32 catch basins, or installed 32 catch basins. So be happy to address any questions the board may have about any of the work that was completed this year.
All right, Commissioner Shea.
Did the rain give us any setbacks in terms of cadence of work?
Did the rain?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good question. Yeah, we did have some streets that the rain caught us in a bad time when things were, had been milled and kicked us into a higher category of restoration where we had to actually do a full repave. So we had brought an emergency change order to take care of a couple of those. And then, otherwise it was a rainy season, but for the most part, work kept proceeding, and they were able to get done within a lot of time, given the fact that we did defer some roads. So I'd prefer not to have another summer as wet as this, which was the wettest one on record. So hopefully we won't have that again. But it was surprising we were actually able to do so much around the weather we did have.
All right, well, thank you for the summary.
Welcome.
Next would be the engineering department projects update.
Thank you again. I just we included this time. It's fairly unique. I know you do get project updates as part of the department reports. I don't know if you have an opportunity to read through all those or not, but I figured I'd come in and just hit a highlight on a couple projects that are ongoing, and provide a format in case you did have any questions about any ongoing projects. So real quickly, Cotton Mill Transfer Bridge, ADA ramp, everyone's under contract. We held a pre-construction meeting on November 2nd, and construction is planned to start December 4th. They'll do some prep work, and then a couple weeks later, the drill rig will come in and start drilling the foundations to support that ramp. Walnut Oval project, finance last night approved the engineering study agreement with Hoyle Tanner, so that work will kick off soon. We have a local concerns meeting that needs to be scheduled, planned to occur in January. They've been collecting data on the quarter and that sort of thing. Or actually, sorry, that's the next one, apologize. So we expect to have the first public meeting on the Walnut Oval project in January. West Hall Street Corridor Study, they've been collecting data. That's Hoyle Tanner again. And again, we plan to have our first public meeting on that project in January. We're planning to do it here at this facility, kind of a neighborhood meeting to solicit input from the neighborhood and listen to any concerns or ideas that people have along the corridor, so we need to schedule that meeting. The pedestrian bridge in Mine Falls Park, the design's been completed for that. That's the replacement of the bridge that was in disrepair, had to be removed. We put up a temporary bridge. That project is out to bid currently, with bids due back December 4th. We held a pre-bid meeting on the 14th, which is attended by 5 bridge contractors, so we're hopeful that we'll receive a few bids on that one. And then West Pearl Street, streetscape project, we took bids on that. We only received one bid at $3.8 million. We're currently reviewing that bid to see if it's suitable to move forward with award. So those are the highlights I was going to share. If anybody has any questions about anything else, I'd be happy to try to address it.
Commissioner Shulman, yes?
East Hollow Street and Bridge Street reconfiguration, have we seen that yet?
The intersection, there's a couple, there's,
I don't know
oh,
anything about it.
yeah, so that's the intersection, so we just tonight approved the bridge rehab projects. That's the intersection area adjacent to it. You haven't seen anything. We were a little bit of a standstill because we discovered that there's asbestos all throughout that area, fairly at low levels, but still enough so it needs to be considered. So we're currently looking into what that will add for cost to the project. And then once we have agreement with DOT on that cost, what the additional cost may be, then we'll be moving forward again with the project, and it'll come back to you. It had been through a whole engineering study phase where a preferred alternative was selected, so there is a concept that we're moving forward in the design stages with. But again, it got held up a little bit here for a little while due to the asbestos issue.
Did we actually see something about that?
You did.
It sounded.
It was a long time ago.
A long, but a long.
It was a while ago.
It's that
Yeah.
really
4 or 5 years ago.
convoluted,
Could-
yeah.
Currently, there's
section
like an
of-
X, and it
yeah.
creates, yeah, kind of, I don't know,
Yeah,
almost like a do not enter sign, like there's a circulatory pattern with a
Yeah.
line cut through, so.
it's really complex.
That will be advancing, hopefully, and be brought back to you at a later date. It has taken a little while to develop. This rehab project got accelerated. That was going to be in the further future, so I'm glad they're both not under construction at the same time. But it is intended that construction of that project would follow the rehab project.
Yeah, gotcha. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Shea?
And Pearl, that's West Pearl?
Yes, it is, and yeah, you had seen that before. We advertised. It's largely what you saw. Still, currently, the design is still 2 lanes with all kinds of improved sidewalk and streetscape amenities. The design still doesn't currently include the reversal. That's something where that's may be approved before we actually start construction, so that's probably a change we'll end up incorporating. The Walnut Oval project that we talked about that's being designed adjacent to this, that'll be part of what that's looking at too, how that all goes together, so.
And do I recall for process that the West Pearl project, did we vote, you voted on that? Or did we not vote on that? We got information?
That one,
I remember
that-
having
that one you voted, that one I believe you voted on, is my recollection. The ADA ramp project you didn't, because that one, the funding is coming from the TIF district as well as some federal funds. But I believe you did vote on the design, reviewed and voted on the design of the West Pearl Street. I'd be happy to bring in an update on that project if you want. Once we confirm we're going to move ahead with the project.
Yeah, that would be much appreciated. I recall when it came to us, it was pretty fully baked, and
Yeah.
I felt that we were kind of left out of the process, and I don't know that it was on the agenda for approval, or if it was an informational item.
I thought they came back
Perhaps.
with a full presentation
That's-
after we said, we can't vote on this with, you know.
Yeah, so
Okay.
what happened is that design was done, and then it was intended to be done late last year, but so it was an accelerated schedule. We only received 1 bid at that time too, but decided not to move forward with it at that time. So fast forward to this year, we're giving them all of next year's construction season. We basically just changed dates and re-advertised it. We really didn't do anything from the previous, we didn't make any changes from the previous design, other than giving them more time for construction. So yeah, I guess that's why we didn't bring it back. If we go to award it, if everything looks good and we go to award it, it'll be back before you next month, and we can share additional detail
Okay.
at that time.
And just a follow-up comment.
Yes.
Just to reiterate and kind of suggest future process, and Commissioner Moriarty is going to be leaving us soon. I know he's kind of been big on this issue too, because it falls under our purview, and it would be excellent if we could come to some solution where even they were a liaison from the Board of Public Works that works with the city staff and the Board of Aldermen who are working on projects like this, the Franklin Street School reversal. Little things like that that come to us, and it's like, hey, here's this project, it's done. And it's like, well, it would be nice to offer insight. I know that we approve of things, and ultimately that's, that technically covers the base perhaps, but if we could have some level of active participation in any capacity, I would appreciate seeing that on future projects.
Yeah, I agree. That was kind of the intent of this, setting up this agenda item, was so that there'd be a framework for an opportunity for me to share more information.
Appreciate that.
Like versus a few blurbs of text, give you an opportunity to have a good Q&A too. So, that is our goal, keep the board better informed and as projects develop. So I think we'll look to do that more expansively as we go forward.
Thank you.
If they decide to reverse or to have two-way traffic on West Pearl Street, I assume they'll also look at what's happening on East Pearl Street. I work at the soup kitchen. I cannot tell you the number of times people have come barreling down East Pearl Street the wrong way, even in broad daylight. So I just think if we have West Pearl having two-way and East Pearl, I'm just curious as to how they study the effect of that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the city had engaged VHB. They had done a study back in 2015. We've had them update that. It's called the Downtown Circulation Study. So they've done an update of that study. That'll be brought forward for presentation soon. That kind of looks at the whole downtown as a system, because we really wanted, what's the master plan, how this street's going to go that way, that one's going to go that way. It really all needs to be, they end up being done as individual projects, but they need to be done with an understanding of what the whole scope is, right? So I think that will be brought forward for review and approval as well. I think that's intended maybe to be brought forth at the beginning of next year once the new Board of Aldermen is in place and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other thing to the complexity of this, that a lot of this, in defense of Dan and Public Works, a lot of these projects are not being done by Public Works. A lot of these projects are being done by Economic Development and Administrative Services. So we're giving you the purview that we have, but I just want to be, a lot of this we're not totally in control of either. So I didn't want to hang Dan out to dry
No, I appreciate
on
that,
that. To your
Yeah.
point, Commissioner Shea.
Yeah, if I could. So I appreciate that. And my commentary and constructive feedback is not directed at the department, but more so the process.
Right.
If it's coming out of economic development, that's great that they have concepts, but having some engagement from the board in the process, especially where like it's very explicit language. We've talked about it a number of times, and economic development serves at the pleasure of the chair of this committee, and so I would think that he would have some opportunity to discuss
I will have that.
greater engagement. Yeah.
I will have that discussion with the mayor.
Thank you.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. If I can add a little bit of clarity, in the charter, as a representative and chairman of the Committee of Infrastructure, a lot of some of these questions comes into the Infrastructure Committee, which is duly authorized by charter, because unfortunately, having this conversation with several, it's got to all grow, the Committee of Infrastructure, between building this lovely facility and stop signs and other different things that we, do. We've seen the presentation, like you say, it's with the Bridge Street area and different things that's come. But the Committee of Infrastructure wants to hear from all other forms of government. We are together on this. So if the new chairman, when the new board gets constituted, you have, I think, depends upon the president of the board, but I think she'll do me the favor of making me chairman again of infrastructure. But a representative from the Board of Public Works would definitely be welcomed. Probably have no, like I do here, a liaison, no voting status, but we'd like to hear, and it would help us come to the decisions, and I think it'll bring a cohesiveness of what the two boards. Yes, I can see there is a cross-contamination that comes at times, and it wasn't meant with any degree of animosity. One's designated by charter, but, willing to work together. So if anybody wants to come to a infrastructure meeting, they're a lot of fun. You're definitely welcome to,
And it's once or twice a month, depending on the...
Yes, we have them scheduled, very good point. Officially, it's twice a month, but we keep the second meeting just in case it is needed for, something that comes up on the horizon. Sometimes it does. If not, if we conduct business in 1 month, we'll do that. But we can send it, our meetings. I can have a conversation, we could talk afterwards, and if you feel that our administrative assistant, Ms. Donna Graham, can send you the information on when we're meeting and stuff like that. And you don't have to really be a liaison, I'll let you sit in the horseshoe if you wish, so,
Be careful.
recognizing your due authority. You are a member, and we have this too with the school board and other different boards that are out there. And as aldermen, we like to receive as much information as we possibly can to come to the right decision. So,
And if the Board of Aldermen can be so kind and generous as to loan us Alderman O'Brien, then perhaps we could return the favor.
I have put the request, and that's why I'm here to begin with, and I have put the request in to come back by popular demand, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman O'Brien, thank you. And Mr. Hudson, before you finish, I just wanted to say thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
You've been
that.
a great addition to the city, and you put in a lot of time. I know you were at the meeting the other night. It's like, man, and I'm thinking about your ride home.
I got another one later
What time you
tonight.
got home that night, but thank you so much.
I got planning board later tonight. No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I love what I do. I love the city, and so I'm happy to do it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, moving on would be Director's report.
Okay, I'm going to do my best to get through this tonight. This first picture is Continental Subcontractor Markings, Inc., applying pavement markings to Main Street after our final paving on October 24th. We've got some paving slides now. This is Sunshine Paving, final paving Browning Ave on October 17th. This is final paving on Knowlton Road on October 26th, again by Sunshine Paving. National Water Main is cleaning and conducting CCTV on October 30th. You can see, these are slides on Amherst Street. You can see the debris on the left, and then on the right, you can see the grease buildup on the slide that had to be removed with a cutting saw attachment. So. On October 20th and the 27th, and actually November 3rd, the Stormwater and Viruscape presentation was given to about 240 7th grade students at Elm Street Middle School. I'm guessing that was done by Amy Gill, who does a phenomenal job at that. We do that at Public Works. She does that at Public Works Day, and there's always just a group of kids surrounding her. So educating the public is part of our, and how we can reduce pollutants in the stormwater is part of our EPA MS4 stormwater permit requirement. Park and Rec staff had to replace a door at the Labine Flood Shack after vandals broke in on October 27th, unfortunately. There's some vandalism at Greeley Park. We're seeing more and more vandalism throughout the city. It's unfortunate.
Even the little libraries. I read about it every day, like, who wants to destroy a library? A little one.
It just seems. This is Park and Rec staff preparing to cover pools for the winter. Our field mowing is still ongoing. We haven't had that hard frost yet that prevents the grass from growing, so we're hoping that that's going to come soon. This past Friday, November 10th, Park and Rec took a busload of Nashua residents to TD Garden to see the Celtics play the New York Nets. Our youngest guests were able to go out on the court and for the national anthem with the players, which is really cool. So this trip always sells out. Everybody has a great time. We have another trip scheduled for Saturday, December 5th, 9th, and that's completely sold out. Residents will ride on a coach bus from Greeley Park to Madison Ave and get to spend the day on their own, exploring the city. Our annual Santa in the Park event is scheduled for Sunday, December 3rd, and will be held at Greeley Park from 12 to 2. Children will visit with Santa, take a picture, leave with a toy and some treats. This is always a great, very popular event. So I think Commissioner Shoneman and her family usually participate in this. So
Is Friends of Greeley Park going to be involved again this year?
I'm not sure. I would imagine so, yes. I would imagine so.
That's gonna
All
be
the
fun.
same, I think.
It's a lot of
People,
fun.
yeah, it is a lot of fun. We were going to have it Saturday this year, but we had to have it Sunday because Santa couldn't. Yeah.
It's busy.
He had to fit it in his schedule. This is an emergency sewer repair at 177 Kinsley Street. The sewer in the house is backing up, and there was an old clay pipe that had broken, so we repaired that. This is the left field wall at Holman Stadium. This shows you how talented some of our staff is. We actually have street department staff who are repairing the left field wall at Holman. On 1018 Street, crews repaired the catch basin at 1 Cardiff Road. The repair was needed because of bricks. Some of the bricks had failed due to erosion. On 1017, street crews installed a berm to remedy water erosion occurring at 18 Edinburgh Drive. We are getting ready for plow season, of course, and we have a lot of new drivers, so we have been doing some training. And this is what you can see here at the street department. We also are training our new drivers on tire chains and how to put them on properly, because we need those.
I hated that on the fire department.
Yeah, I know. They hate it too.
We used to put them on after the truck came back sometimes, like, oh,
Yeah.
mercy me.
They're a necessary evil, unfortunately. The city was awarded the US EPA Regional Industrial Pretreatment Program Excellence Award for 2022. And accepting the award were Dave Boucher, Doug Starr, and Michelle Gaudet. Doug Starr is our pretreatment coordinator, and Michelle Gaudet is the manager of our lab. And all know Dave. Our solid waste department continues to build the wall to gain airspace in Phase 1 and Phase 2. Curbside yard waste pickup will end for the season on Friday, December 1st, and the landfill will be open until 4 p.m. on November 18th and 25th for yard waste drop-off only. Just a reminder. The Four Hills landfill will be closed on Thanksgiving on Thursday, the 23rd. However, we will be open on Friday, so Thursday's trash will be picked up on Friday. Friday's trash will be picked up on Saturday that week. And that's it. Any questions?
Alderman O'Brien?
Seeing that I'm only 5'5", my game was hockey. Any trips to see the Bruins? I mean, they're going to win the cup this year, so.
Maybe. I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
but
if I
can
could
find out.
plant a seed,
Sure.
being a diehard fan.
Fair enough.
Great. All right, thank you, Director Fellow. Are there commissioner comments? Commissioner Lemon?
I want to thank the DPW for their contributions to the Nashua Soup Kitchen and Shelters auction. When I put the manhole cover on, which Lisa had to talk me into,
I got outbid, by the way.
you did get outbid, and I just have to tell you that
it's a good one.
the person who came to pick it up was the wife of a man who had been wanting one since the Historic Association had them. When was that?
Really?
And so she
Long
said,
time ago.
as a joke, she said, look what the soup kitchen has, and then he outbid you. I mean, he was just all over it. So they were very happy.
That's awesome.
And the person who won the trash truck ride-along is very excited, so.
Great.
Yeah, so you have contributed $365 towards ending homelessness.
That's
And-
awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah, we really
I'm glad it's
appreciate
a
it.
success. Good.
Yeah, that was like the cleanest one I've ever seen.
Oh, God, people were like
we
coming
cleaned
to
it
our
and
dock
painted
to
it,
view
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They're like, we hear you have one. Oh, my God, look at this one. It was beautiful. It was a thing of beauty.
People love to put them in their yards and landscape around them.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, former Mayor Loza has one in her yard. That she actually bid on, at an auction. I don't know what auction.
Well, I was just very surprised that this gentleman had been waiting that long, because I remember the first time they came out with that was a long time ago when they did that.
Yeah.
So I was surprised.
I think the last time was like 5 or 6 years
People,
ago, maybe.
people do call and ask about them all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Well,
Alderman
thank
Ryan,
you.
Yes.
That leads me into the question, how many we still got left in the street? So, please make a donation. We do have several still in the street, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they're disappearing as we continue to pave, but we've paved, almost half of the city at this point, so we'll continue to come across them for a while yet. But they do need, when we do find them, we do have to take them out and replace them because they don't meet the current requirements, so.
Well, I want one, still time, folks.
Great. All right, further comments? Commissioner Shea.
So speaking of the manhole covers, there's a gentleman here who I'd like to recognize, Alderman-elect Matty Gregg. Commissioner-elect Matty Gregg. I would imagine Commissioner-elect Esposito would be here, but I know that he's got a lot going on at home, so, but welcome, and thank you for taking the effort to come here now instead of waiting to January. And but the tie into the manhole covers is that he has built a beautiful bar top, and I don't know if you've taken that down and turned it into a paver, or if you have two of them. But in any case, but thank you for coming out.
Great. All right, we'll move on to personnel. Motion A, Commissioner Lemon.
I move to approve and unseal the non-public minutes for personnel from the Board of Public Works meeting of October 26, 2023.
A motion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries. Commissioner Shoneman, motion B.
I'm not sure where we are right now. I may not have the right
Personnel.
personnel.
You want to proceed B from that?
Oh, that's where I am. Okay. I move to accept the resignation of Slade Derby, solid waste collections equipment operator, effective November 13, 2023.
All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. We now will have a non-public motion by Commissioner Shea.
So I move by roll call that the board go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. And do I go further? I think this is the first time I've been.
Thank you. That is the motion, so we'll have a roll call.
Claire, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemon?
Yes.
And Commissioner Shea?
Yes.
We are now.
Well,
entering
briefly,
non-public.
before you discuss business, before I go, it's been a pleasure, but I would like to wish everybody have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you.
Same to you, Alderman O'Brien, thank you. Are we back in public? Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Shea, do you have a motion?
I do. I move by roll call to seal the minutes of the Board of Public Works Personnel non-public meeting of November 16th, 2023, until such a time as the majority of the board votes that the purpose of the confidentiality would no longer be served.
Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
Commissioner Lemon?
Yes.
Commissioner Shea?
Yes.
Thank you. One more motion. Commissioner Lemon.
I move that the Board of Public Works meeting be adjourned.
Thank you. The meeting is now adjourned at 5:44 PM.
Thank you.